Can mRNA technology provide immunity against cancer and other diseases? Until recently, most people had never even heard of mRNA vaccines. Now, scientists believe that the Nobel Prize-winning technology on which these vaccines are based could play a key role in solving many health problems. 3 years ago, when Anna Blakeney was working in a new field in a London laboratory, few people outside the scientific community had heard of mRNA vaccines. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, many people are now aware of mRNA vaccines from pharmaceutical companies such as Pfizer-BioNTech and Moderna. But just 3 years ago, Anna Blakeney was working in a relatively obscure niche area of science in a London lab. Few people outside the scientific community had heard of mRNA vaccines, even when Blakeney started his PhD at Imperial College London in 2016. A lot of people were skeptical about whether it would work. Now, he says, mRNA is a game changer in medicine. Messenger ribonucleic acid, or mRNA for short, raises huge, exciting questions. Could mRNA vaccines provide a cure for cancer, HIV, tropical diseases, and even give us superhuman immunity? mRNA is a single-stranded molecule that carries the genetic code from DNA to the cell's protein-making machinery. Without mRNA, your genetic code cannot be used, proteins cannot be made, and your body cannot function. If DNA is the bank card, mRNA is the card reader. When a virus enters our cells, it releases its own RNA and excretes copies of the virus in the form of viral proteins that trick our compromised cells into compromising our immune system. Traditional vaccines work by injecting weakened virus proteins called antigens, which stimulate the body's immune system to recognize the virus when it reappears. With mRNA vaccines, there is no need to inject the antigen itself. Instead, these vaccines use the genetic sequence or code of the antigen translated into mRNA. This is like a ghost of the real thing and tricks the body into creating real antibodies. The artificial mRNA itself is then degraded and destroyed by the body's natural defenses, including the enzymes that break it down, leaving us with only antibodies. This is why mRNA vaccines are safer, faster, and cheaper to produce than conventional vaccines. There is no longer a need for huge biosecure laboratories growing deadly viruses inside millions of chicken eggs. Instead, a single lab could email a list of antigen proteins to the world. With this information, Blakeney says, a lab could make 1 million doses of mRNA in a single 100 milliliters test tube. On January 10, 2020, Zhang Yongzhen, a zoonosis expert at the Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention in Beijing, sequenced the genome of COVID-19 and published it the next day. The World Health Organization, WHO, declared COVID-19 a pandemic on March 11th. On March 16th, the first mRNA vaccine begins a phase 1 clinical trial using Zhang's sequence. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration approved the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine on December 11, 2020, making it the first mRNA vaccine approved for humans and the first vaccine with a 95% efficacy rate in clinical trials. A week later, the Moderna mRNA vaccine was approved. The previous fastest vaccine title belonged to the mumps vaccine, which took 4 years to be approved. The Moderna and Pfizer-BioNTech vaccines were approved in just 11 months. Pioneers of mRNA technology. The theory on which the mRNA vaccine is based was pioneered by University of Pennsylvania scientists Katalin Karikó and Drew Weissman. Both scientists were awarded the Lasker Prize, the largest U.S. biomedical research award, in 2021 and the Nobel Prize in Medicine in October 2023. But their work was based on decades of research and experimentation by other scientists. But even in 2019, it was believed that the use of mRNA vaccines would take at least 5 years. The pandemic has brought this step forward. There weren't many people in the mRNA world who could imagine 95% initial efficacy rates in this emergency scenario, admits Catherine Whitehead, a chemical engineering expert at Carnegie Mellon University and colleague of Weissman and Karikó. But now the possibilities seem endless, And as Blakeney says, what other vaccines can we make with this, and what can we do beyond that, is being discussed. Dragony Fu of the University of Rochester notes that if we are witnessing mRNA vaccine 1.0 for COVID-19, then 2.0 could also be applied to pathogens like SARS and other foreign invaders like HIV, noting that before COVID, companies had already developed mRNA vaccines against HIV. In the pathogen camp, he counts Zika, herpes, and malaria parasites. According to Fu, the other category is autoimmune diseases. This is interesting because it goes beyond the very strict definition of a vaccine. Fu says the future could include mRNA therapies to reduce inflammation, for example. Theoretically, this opens up a lot of possibilities, he says. Yizhu Dong of Ohio State University is an expert on the tiny balls of fat, or lipids, needed to house mRNA and deliver it safely to cells without being immediately destroyed by our bodies. Lipids have been described as the unsung hero. If lipid delivery had not been perfected and approved in 2018, there would have been no COVID-19 mRNA vaccines in 2020. Dong says that before COVID-19, there was a lot of research examining the broader applications of combining this new lipid delivery technique with mRNA, including genetic disorders, cancer immunotherapy, infectious diseases, and bacterial infections. As long as you have the antigen and can sequence the protein, theoretically it should work. Thanks to the breakthrough in lipid delivery and mRNA technology, vaccines and treatments in development include mRNA therapies for cystic fibrosis and multiple sclerosis, an mRNA vaccine for HIV, therapies for heart disease, and mRNA therapies for severe lung diseases and asthma. Solutions for tropical diseases are also being explored. Moderna is conducting clinical trials of mRNA vaccines for Zika and chikungunya. Both diseases affect some of the world's poorest populations and have been neglected due to insufficient research and funding. The speed and cost of mRNA vaccines could change this paradigm and bring an end to neglected tropical diseases. But perhaps the next mRNA vaccine to hit the shelves will be for a more common disease, influenza. Influenza viruses are responsible for an estimated 290,000 to 650,000 deaths worldwide each year. It is very likely that we will see mRNA vaccines against flu in the near future, says Whitehead. Some experts have warned of a flu pandemic in some countries that could cause more deaths than COVID-19. Cancer vaccine and treatment trials. Many pharmaceutical companies are also pursuing mRNA vaccines and treatments for cancer, and a number of clinical trials are underway. Blakeney explains, cancer cells often have certain surface markers that other cells in your body don't have. You can train your immune system to recognize and kill these cells, just like you can train it to recognize and kill a virus. You find out what proteins are on the surface of your tumor cells and use that as a vaccine. The idea of patient-specific, individualized medicine has been an exciting prospect for years, Blakeney says, and this could be another door that mRNA will open wide. In theory, they take out your tumor, sequence it, see what's on its surface, and then make you a customized vaccine. If cures for cancer, HIV, and tropical diseases are coming with mRNA 2.0, what could be even further ahead with 3.0? One big area of concern for modern medicine is antibiotic resistance. You could potentially think about making a vaccine against a bacterial antigen like C. difficile, or some bacteria that are really hard to treat, says Blakeney. No trials have yet been conducted, but scientific journals such as Frontiers have explored the idea. There is also potential for more general commercial health and well-being applications. For example, Fu suggests that lactose allergy, which affects hundreds of millions of people of Asian descent, including himself, and indeed an estimated 68% of the global population, could one day be targeted. I lack the protein that allows me to break down lactose. In the future, you could develop a way to deliver the message, the mRNA, to produce the protein that breaks down lactose. It's not life-threatening, but I can imagine it would be a billion-dollar industry. At Ohio State University, Dong even ran a successful mouse trial against cholesterol. People with high PCSK9 protein have a tendency to have high cholesterol and develop heart disease early. After one treatment, we realized that we could reduce the PCSK9 protein level in mice by over 95%. This is definitely very important research. According to Dong, at least one biotech company is planning a clinical trial using mRNA to inhibit PCSK9. All of this raises the question, can mRNA therapies give us almost superhuman immunity? Currently, COVID-19 mRNA vaccines can inactivate several variants of COVID-19 at once, causing some people to produce high levels of antibodies. There is also the potential to combine several mRNA vaccines together to create a single booster vaccine that could prevent cancer and viruses at the same time.